Hey everybody, it's Monday here in Cypress, Texas. It's hot today. Um, I'm, anyway, so I this is really interesting reading the scriptures that I've read, at least 16 times, and taking into account the point of view. So with Luke, who was accompanied Paul, a disciple of Paul, to, so he's getting it like third-hand account. We're getting a third-hand account of what Christ was talking about. Unlike Matthew and John, who were first-hand accounts. And in this chapter, a lot of the same things that he's talking about are what Matthew talked about in chapter 5, which is the Beatitudes, right? And we talked about that before. So what does it really mean? Okay. It's when you have that understanding, things are different. Okay. And then, so in this one that stood out to me was talking about the bread and the wine. Wow. And so it hit me that the bread is the moral teaching and the wine is a greater teaching, right, of the word, a more in-depth understanding of the word. Okay, so there's different levels. There's water, okay, which is more the cleaning, the moral teaching. Then there's the wine, which is a little more in depth of understanding what he's really saying, the symbolism. Okay, then there's blood, that's living it, right? And then there's fire, and that's teaching with passion. Okay, and bread is the moral teaching, and then there's the meat. Meat is the basically implementing the process, creating more teachers, creating more disciples, creating more priests. Okay, and what they're really getting to is the temple process without the physical brick and mortar building. Just living your life. Okay, going through the temple in your way of thinking. Okay, you're shucking off your guilt for your sin. That's the altar sacrifice. Okay, then you're in the outer court. That's Sunday teaching at church, right? And then you're going to the brazen laver and you're cleaning yourself up and you're looking at yourself and making sure you're clean, right? And then you go into the temple. Oh yeah, this is another one. The table is showbread. Showbread. That's the flippin' the Eucharist. That's the little wafer they give you in Mass, right? That's the showbread. The 6 rows of 6 loaves of bread. There's really more teaching, more digging into the Bible, more the 66 books of the Bible. All right? And then you go to the altar of incense, which is, not lighting incense, right? But it's actually that's a small group. Okay, isn't that funny? Small group teaching the deeper understanding to the newer people. Okay, the people been around, people that understand it, teach it to others, right? Then you go to the menorah. That's like the direct mentorship and that subject matter experts for the high priest. Okay, then you get to go through the other veil, and there's another brazen laver, making sure you're still good to go. Okay, you're still clean. Okay, and then you go to the Ark of the Covenant. It's not just looking at the artifacts, it's the manna, okay, which was that moral teaching directly from God. Then the original tablet that was broken, which is the spiritual law, which is really the law in Paleo Hebrew, right? When you read that, you'll get it, okay? And then the staff of authority, that means you have this understanding, right? And then to the other menorah, which means you're in the CEO space and you're running the show, right? You're looking into the temple, making sure every one of the priests running each station are running it correctly, okay? But now we're doing it without the temple, without the brick and mortar. We're making sure that the pastors or the minor priests are teaching everything correctly, so it's not getting twisted. And you're doing it without the temple, but your temple is yourself, okay? And you're teaching people how to run their own temple. That's what it is.